My due date was 10 days away when I found a flight check-in text on his phone and my husband's phone. I asked curiously, "Who are you buying a plane ticket for?" Johnny was stunned, turned his face away uncomfortably, and said softly, "For my parents and me." I doubted my ears and asked in shock, "Tickets for you and your parents for tomorrow? Where are you planning to go?" Johnny paused, gritted his teeth, and said, "We're planning to go to Washington, D.C. for a few days." I couldn't believe my ears. I asked him incredulously, "What are you talking about? I'm about to give birth, and you want to go on vacation with your parents at this critical moment?" Johnny explained to me, "I was busy with work before, and now I finally have some time. My parents have always wanted to go to Washington, D.C., so I'm taking advantage of this time to take them to have some fun." I found it unbelievable and said, "Isn't the reason you have time because you took paternity leave? You're using your paternity leave to travel with your parents?" Johnny pouted unhappily and said, "Paternity leave is my vacation too. It's my business how I spend it. Besides, your due date is still 10 days away. I have to plan this time reasonably. I can't just stay home with you every day. You're not going to give birth so soon. I'd be so bored. And we're only going for 5 days. We'll definitely be back before you give birth." No wonder he insisted on taking paternity leave early. I thought he was worried that I would go into labor anytime while I was home alone, so he was staying by my side to reassure me. I was quite touched, but I didn't expect that he had planned to use this time to travel. I tried to suppress my anger and said, "Then why didn't you tell me about this in advance?" Johnny muttered softly, "If I had told you in advance, you definitely wouldn't have agreed." I interrupted him, "So you're acting first and telling me later?" The doctor also sighed during our last checkup that I might not give birth on the due date. It could be earlier or later. What if you're all gone and I'm the only one at home, and I suddenly go into labor? Johnny said impatiently, "It's not that easy to give birth. Besides, doctors say that to avoid responsibility, so they can't be blamed if it's early or late. Even if you give birth early, the hospital is next door. You can call 911, and the ambulance will be downstairs in 5 minutes. The doctors and nurses are so professional, so you'll be fine. And my mom said that the first baby doesn't come out that quickly. It's going to hurt for days. We'll have plenty of time to fly back then." I looked at him in shock. I never dreamed that this was what a soon-to-be father would say. Seeing him quibble, I didn't want to argue with Johnny anymore, and Johnny didn't want to coax me, so the atmosphere fell into a stalemate. At this moment, a phone call broke the Cold War. Johnny's face froze when he looked at the screen. He hesitated for a moment, answered the phone, and said softly, "Mom, yeah, everything's ready. No, we didn't quarrel. Don't worry." "Hey, why did you suddenly say you're not going?" "We really didn't quarrel. The plane tickets and hotel are booked. Haven't you always been talking about going to Washington, D.C.? I'll definitely take you." No. Johnny hung up the phone and sighed after a long while. "Look, my parents are so considerate of you. They said they wouldn't go as soon as they knew you were unhappy. My parents have done so much for you. Why can't you consider my parents?" My parents were so happy about this trip. They told many relatives about it, and everyone envied them. "After you give birth, my parents will come over to help you take care of the child. At least before the child turns 3, they won't be able to go on vacation, not even to a neighboring town." I sneered in my heart. If he really cared about me, he wouldn't have said he wanted to go on vacation at this critical moment. I relented and said, "Then let's each take a step back. I don't want my parents to blame me for this either. They can go on vacation as planned tomorrow, and you stay home with me." Who knew that Johnny's reaction would be so strong? He jumped up and said, "How can that be? My parents are old and haven't been out of the hometown for a long time. They don't know the place. They won't know where to go after they get off the plane. How can you ask me to leave 2 elders alone in Washington, D.C.? How can you say such a thing? You're too heartless." I retorted, then are you willing to leave me alone at home? Aren't you worried that I might give birth at any time and there won't be anyone around? Giving birth is like stepping into the gates of hell. Don't you know that I could die? Johnny said with a sullen face, don't try to scare me with that. Technology is so advanced now. How can anyone die from giving birth? If it were so easy to die, would so many people still have children? Why does that 1 in 10,000 chance have to fall on you? It's easy to get into a car accident when driving, so why do so many people still drive? I was still hesitant about whether it was inappropriate to go on a trip with my parents without you, but now I think this decision is absolutely right. We're definitely going tomorrow. In this way, neither of us was willing to give in, and we quarreled until neither of us paid attention to the other. In the middle of the night, I touched my bulging belly and thought of what Johnny, had said today. Tears couldn't help but well up in my eyes. I didn't expect that in his eyes, taking his parents on vacation was more important than me giving birth. I couldn't sleep and opened my phone. I saw my mother-in-law posting several passive-aggressive posts on her moments after hanging up the phone. Oh, I didn't expect that after working hard all my life. My daughter-in-law wouldn't even let me go on vacation. Oh, I'm old and annoying. I treat people with all my heart, but maybe no matter what I do, they won't be satisfied. After all, I'm not their own. It's not appropriate to go anywhere, so just stay at home. Saving money for my son. Thank you for the concern of all my relatives and friends. We've decided not to go on vacation. We're used to staying in the hometown for so many years. We're old, so we won't cause trouble for my daughter-in-law. After a series of passive-aggressive remarks, I became an ungrateful daughter-in-law who didn't want my parents-in-law to have a good life. But my parents-in-law had never done anything for me. 3. Johnny, and I are both only children, but my family is better off than his. They live in a rural farmhouse, while my parents bought a city apartment for the couple to live in. When we got married, my parents had a lot of opinions about his family's situation. They were worried that my parents-in-law didn't have retirement pensions, which would affect my future life with Johnny. But I was so infatuated at that time that I insisted on marrying him, and he repeatedly swore to my parents that he wouldn't let me be wronged, so my parents reluctantly nodded. When discussing the marriage, my parents meant that they had already bought a city apartment for me in the city, and we could live in it in the future, so there would be no pressure. They only asked the man to provide a car and a dowry of $88,000 as a formality. It didn't matter whose name the car was in. They agreed well in person, but then Johnny, said to me with a bitter face, my parents have worked hard all their lives. Buying a car and paying the dowry for our wedding will cost $200,000 or $300,000 at once. I really can't bear to empty their savings all at once. I suggested, we can buy a cheaper car, just something to get around in. And installment payments are quite affordable now. Johnny shook his head and said, the monthly loan repayments are a lot of money, and the pressure is too great. Can you discuss with your parents about reducing the dowry? And a dowry of $88,000 is very high in our area. My cousin only spent $38,000 to marry his wife. But his cousin's wife gave all the $38,000 to her parents' home, and there was no dowry. My parents would let me use my dowry, and I would naturally use it for our little family. My parents weren't very supportive of our marriage in the first place. If the dowry was less, they would definitely think that his family wasn't sincere and wouldn't agree to the marriage. Seeing that I was a little unhappy, Johnny frowned and muttered something. He turned around and gave me the dowry card, and soon ordered the car. I felt very uncomfortable at the time. I felt like they were testing my bottom line, but we were still deeply in love at that time, so I didn't say much. A few months later, I saw Johnny, being frugal every month to repay the car loan. I couldn't bear it, so I thought about going to the bank to transfer the money to help him pay off the loan in advance, as a surprise birthday gift for him. Who knew that when I went to the bank to check, the balance was actually $0. I was so angry that I confronted Johnny, but he said with a blank face, I don't know what's going on. Wife, don't worry. This card was given to me by my parents. I'll ask them now. I promise I'll give you an explanation. After he finished the phone call, he said with a sad face, "My parents said that the dowry was borrowed, and you also know that they don't have much money. Others were urging them to repay the debt, so they had to pay the money back to them first. They were planning to do some odd jobs to slowly save enough money to make up for it, but they didn't expect you to find out so soon. They also feel very sorry for you. Look, how about this? I will definitely make up for this dowry in the future. Please don't be angry with them, okay?" Since the words had been said to this point, I couldn't embarrass my parents-in-law. The dowry money was never mentioned again. For the 2 years after the marriage, my parents-in-law continued to live in the farmhouse. Occasionally, when they felt unwell, they would come over to see a doctor and stay for a short period. Johnny, was busy with work and couldn't get away, so I took care of them wholeheartedly, asking people to make an appointment with a specialist for them to see a doctor and have surgery. And during the holidays, I would also prepare enough gifts and gift cards. Usually, they would promise relatives to do things for the sake of face, but then Johnny, would scold them for showing off, and my parents-in-law would come to me crying with tears in their eyes. Even if it was beyond my ability, I would try my best to do it well, so that they wouldn't lose face in front of their relatives. I was the one who gave more, but I didn't expect that in their eyes, I was the ungrateful one. For, I didn't fall asleep until almost dawn, and when I opened my eyes again, it was almost noon. I walked out of the living room and saw Johnny, checking his luggage to see if anything was missing. When he saw me coming out, he immediately gave me a cold look and humphed deliberately. "But didn't my mother-in-law say in her moments last night that they weren't going?" I opened my moments in confusion, and sure enough, my mother-in-law posted a new update early in the morning saying, "Thank you for the advice of all my relatives and friends. I thought about it all night. This trip is my son's filial piety. We really can't not go because of the concerns of an outsider. That would hurt my son's heart. I've figured it out. Thinking too much will make you tired physically and mentally. From now on, I'll only consider my own thoughts. The first family trip, ready to go, looking forward to it." At this moment, Johnny's phone rang. He immediately answered it. "Mom, are you downstairs? I'll be right down." After speaking, he picked up his luggage and left without looking at me. Looking at his indifferent back, I felt very uncomfortable. In the end, I and the baby in my belly were not as important as his family. I didn't expect that as soon as Johnny, went out, I felt a tightening in my belly. Soon, a warm current flowed down my body. I quickly went to the bathroom and saw blood. I was immediately at a loss. Could it be that I'm really going into labor early? It might be that my emotions fluctuated too much last night and I didn't sleep well, so the baby might really be coming out early. While Johnny, hadn't gone far, I grabbed my phone and called him. After who knows how long, he finally answered the phone. An impatient voice came over. "What's the matter?" I tried my best to calm my panic and said, "I might really be going into labor. I'm bleeding now. Come back quickly." Johnny's tone was full of doubt. "Really? Weren't you fine just now? How come you're bleeding as soon as I go out? That's too coincidental, right?" "5," I said anxiously and angrily. Why would I joke about this? "Come back quickly and take me to the hospital. I don't know what to do at home alone now." There was a rustling sound in the receiver. Soon, my mother-in-law's loud voice came over. "Claire, you said you're bleeding? Aren't you seeing things? How come you're bleeding as soon as we go on vacation? Are you deliberately trying to stop us from going on vacation? The first baby is usually born late. I've never heard of anyone giving birth early. I was several days late when I gave birth to Johnny. Even if you're bleeding, you're still far from giving birth. If you go to the hospital now, the doctor won't admit you. They'll definitely tell you to go home and rest. You haven't given birth before, so you don't know. Just rest at home. We'll be back in a few days." Saying that, she hung up the phone without hesitation. When I called back, it was a busy signal. I felt like I had fallen into an ice cave. Tears couldn't stop falling down my face. If I was only disappointed in this man last night, then now I completely saw the true colors of his family. Since they wouldn't come back even if I was giving birth, they shouldn't even think about coming back in the future. I quickly called my parents. After they heard the news that I was bleeding, they immediately rushed to my house. When my mother saw me alone at home with a big belly, her eyes instantly filled with tears of heartache. I didn't expect that as soon as I arrived at the hospital, my water suddenly broke, and the doctor immediately arranged for me to be hospitalized. I don't know how long passed. There were regular contractions coming from below, and the frequency became more and more rapid. I was in so much pain that I could hardly breathe. Time seemed to be stretched out in this frequent pain. Fortunately, when I was about to give up, the doctor came over and gave me an epidural. After a lot of tossing and turning, I finally heard the baby's loud cry. I felt like all my strength had been drained, and I quickly fell into a deep sleep. When I opened my eyes, I saw my mother holding the baby and lulling her to sleep. She was very happy to see me wake up, but then she looked hesitant and said, Johnny saw the post on my moments. He knew that the baby was born and called you several times. Do you want to call him back? Just as I was about to speak, Johnny's phone call came. I answered it without hesitation. He said happily on the phone, Claire, I saw the post on your mom's moments. You gave our family a daughter. You've worked hard. You're our family's hero now. Before I could say anything, my mother-in-law's voice rang out beside Johnny, more shrill than ever before. What hero? She's just a sinner. She spent so much effort to give birth to a little girl. It's a good thing we came out to travel, or I would have felt like I lost out. I'm telling you, don't expect us to take care of you during your postpartum recovery. We'll go straight back to the hometown when we get back. I don't even dare to let my relatives know that you gave birth to a daughter. I'd be so ashamed. Then there was a burst of chaotic footsteps, and my mother-in-law's curses became smaller and smaller. Johnny said cautiously, my parents are old-fashioned. They're just saying that. Don't take it to heart. Seriously, why didn't you tell me when you went to the hospital? I only found out by scrolling through my moments. I was originally planning to go back to see you and the baby as soon as I saw the news. I was about to change my ticket. But my mom said that since you've already given birth and your parents are taking care of you in the hospital, it would cost a lot of money to change our tickets, so we might as well just enjoy ourselves. I thought so too. Besides, I'm relieved that your parents are taking care of you. We'll be home in a couple of days, and I'll definitely take good care of you and the baby then. If I had heard him say this before giving birth, I would still be angry, but now I didn't feel any ripples in my heart. I said calmly, don't bother worrying about it. You don't have to come home when you get back. Go straight to the courthouse. We're getting a divorce. After speaking, I hung up the phone neatly. I thought my parents would persuade me, but I didn't expect my mother to agree and say, if you've thought it through, that's fine. I was worried that you would forgive him just like that. How can there be a man who goes on vacation with his parents a few days before his wife's due date and leaves his wife alone at home? This kind of man doesn't deserve to have a wife. Divorce is a bargain for him. My father also nodded and said, our family has a house. I'll buy you a car in the future. You don't need any man. Your other and I will take good care of you and the child. You don't have to think about these annoying things. If they dare to come and find you in the future, I'll immediately use a broom to drive them all out. My nose tingled, and the grievances I had suffered these past 2 days instantly turned into tears. After being discharged from the hospital, I directly hired a locksmith to change the locks on the door and turned around and went back to my parents' house for postpartum recovery. I looked at the updates on my moments every day. My mother-in-law kept posting 8 travel updates a day. Finally, after 1 day, they started their return journey. I was very much looking forward to seeing Johnny's expression when he found out that the door lock had been changed when he got home. Sure enough, Johnny couldn't open the door when he got home, and he called me angrily and cursed, I'm just going on vacation, okay? It's not like I'm doing anything harmful. Besides, I'm going with my parents, not with someone else. Do you have to change the locks on the door? You're really going too far. I'm telling you, Come back now and open the door and apologize to me properly. I cannot hold you accountable for what you said about the divorce and changing the locks. Look at what it's like now. You're making such a fuss just because I went on vacation with my parents. People will laugh at us if we go out. I retorted without any politeness. Apologize to you? Did you leave your brain there when you went on vacation? You go out now and explain to everyone that you left a pregnant woman who was about to give birth at home to go on vacation. See who laughs at who then. There's no discussion about the divorce. I'll go to the courthouse after my postpartum recovery. I thought I had made my position very clear, but I didn't expect that after a few days, Johnny, might have realized that I was really going to get a divorce, so he brought his parents to apology. My mother-in-law changed her sharp and arrogant tone on the phone. She pulled my father-in-law and said humbly, "We were wrong on the phone before. We shouldn't have treated you like that. Johnny, has been talking about us these past few days, and we've also reflected on it seriously. Please forgive us this time for the sake of the newborn child. Don't take what we said before to heart. We've already brought our luggage over. You can go to work with peace of mind in the future. We'll take care of the child at home for you." Saying that, my mother-in-law started to wipe away tears. My father-in-law lowered his head and didn't speak. They both looked like they were at my mercy. Johnny also said gently, "Look, my parents have already humbled themselves to apologize. Don't dwell on what they said, okay? Besides, we're going to live together in the future. We're all family, so it's not good to make things too awkward." He realized that if he divorced me, he wouldn't even have a house to live in, so his family started acting in front of me. My father's face was gloomy and he was about to scold them, but I quickly stopped him and said, "Okay, I can forgive you. Since you said you're going to come over to take care of the child, then my house is so small that it's definitely not enough to live in. How about Johnny, pay the rent to rent an apartment for you next door? Is that okay?" 7. Who knew that Johnny would immediately say excitedly, "How can that be? It's not harmonious if a family doesn't live together. Besides, my parents are here to help you take care of the child. It's not convenient to live in another apartment. Our family can squeeze together." I sneered, "You're not even willing to pay for rent. How can I believe that you're sincerely asking for my forgiveness? Since you said that, then I'll call my parents over too and let them help you take care of the child, okay?" Johnny looked unreasonable and said, "What do you mean help me take care of the child? And there's no reason for grandparents to take care of the child when the maternal grandparents are still around, right? We're here to apologize to you for the sake of the child. We're also giving you a way out. In reality, we didn't do anything wrong. Don't push your luck. Okay, stop being stubborn and quickly pack your things and take the child back. My parents' luggage is still in the car, waiting for us to go back and clean up the house and make room for them." I immediately shook off his hand that was pulling me and sneered, "Who are your parents taking care of the child for? It's for you. Aren't you thinking of letting me take care of the child so that you don't have to do anything at home in the future? You keep saying that you're taking care of the child for me, but is the child I gave birth to someone else's? Would they take care of her for me?" Johnny said with a dark face, "Why are you being so unreasonable? We've already begged you so humbly. What else do you want? Do you really want to get a divorce? Have you ever thought about it? You've been married, given birth, and it's still a daughter. Who would want you if you went out? Know your place and honestly come back with us. I cannot hold you accountable for what happened before." I slapped him in the face without hesitation. Johnny's eyes widened and he looked at me in disbelief. When my mother-in-law saw this, she immediately screamed and came over to scratch me. "How dare you hit my son?" But my mother pushed her to the ground with quick eyes and hands. My father pointed at me trembling and said, "It's outrageous. There's still a daughter-in-law who doesn't admit her mistake and dares to hit her husband. Do you believe that I'll let Johnny, divorce you right away?" My father retorted directly, "Do you believe that I'll drive you all out right away?" Johnny cursed, panting, "I didn't expect you to become like this." "Fine. Diver. See then. We'll go to the courthouse next week. I'll see if you dare to go. My mother-in-law shouted loudly. She definitely doesn't dare to get a divorce with a burden. She's just talking. She's not afraid of dying young if she asks me, an elder, to apologize to her. She even dares to hit people. A vicious woman like you will definitely be punished. Under my parents' expulsion, they left cursing. What I didn't expect was that the retribution would come so quickly. 8. Early the next morning, I had just lulled the baby to sleep when I received a call from my mother-in-law. As soon as I answered it, her ghostly wails almost pierced my eardrums. It's a sin. It's a sin that our family married a daughter-in-law like you. We had a car accident. Your father-in-law and Johnny, are covered in blood. It's so scary, so scary. I don't know what to do. Come over quickly. I vaguely heard Johnny, calling out ouch, ouch, and it hurt so much beside him. I curled up the corners of my lips and said in the same tone that my mother-in-law had ridiculed me, you said they were in a car accident and there was a lot of blood? Aren't you seeing things? How come you had a car accident as soon as I started my postpartum recovery? Are you deliberately trying to stop me from having a good postpartum recovery? I hung up the phone neatly, but I couldn't bear to let them be in a car accident and no one cared, so I called 911. Soon they were sent to the hospital. Not long after, my mother-in-law called me again. She cried and wailed, come to the hospital quickly. Your father-in-law has a broken leg and can't be left unattended. Johnny, just came out of the operating room and hasn't woken up yet. How can I take care of them? Your husband is lying in the hospital bed now. How can you rest easy at home during your postpartum recovery? Anyway, you gave birth to a daughter, so just let your parents take care of her. I said with a sneer, the doctors and nurses are professional. Since there's no danger to their lives, there's no need for me to go over. What does my father-in-law have to do with me? What does Johnny, have to do with me? I'm going to divorce him. The one lying next to me now is my biological daughter who is related to me by blood. Can't I tell which is more important? That's your dear husband and your biological son. Do you still need me, an outsider, to take care of them? My mother-in-law stopped crying immediately and immediately changed to a vicious face and cursed, how can you be so vicious? Other couples share weal and woe, but you fly away when disaster strikes. You're going to get a divorce as soon as Johnny, has a car accident. You'll definitely be punished. Your whole family will die a horrible death. I retorted without any politeness, yeah, the retribution has come to you, otherwise why would your whole family be in a car accident? You better watch your mouth, or you can try and see what I'll do. Later, Johnny, woke up and also called me several times to ask me to come over to take care of him, saying that his mother was too tired to take care of 2 patients, so he asked me to take over when I had time so that his mother could rest. I was so angry that he only stopped after I scolded him a few times. I thought that we would be able to get a divorce when he was discharged from the hospital, but I didn't expect them to come up with another trick behind my back. 9. While my mother-in-law was taking care of my father-in-law and Johnny, in the hospital, she often had to run back and forth because they were not in the same ward. She couldn't bear to spend money to eat outside, so she cooked 3 meals a day at home and sent them over. She also had to wipe down the broken leg of my father-in-law every day and empty his bedpan, and change the clothes of Johnny, who was still recovering and had a cleanliness obsession. In just half a month, my mother-in-law visibly lost a lot of weight. One time, when my mother-in-law was struggling to lift my father-in-law's body to wipe him down, the people in the same ward couldn't stand it anymore and asked, "Why are you the only one taking care of him? Doesn't your family have anyone else?" My mother-in-law's acting addiction came on, and she didn't say anything with red eyes. The person asked relentlessly, "You should have sons and daughters at this age. Why don't they come to share the burden for you?" My mother-in-law sighed and said, "I only have one son, and he's also in the hospital because of a car accident. I have to take care of my husband and son every day. There's nothing I can do. My son is my own, so I can't ignore him, unlike other relationships that can be broken off so easily." The person immediately seized the point and said, "You mean your daughter-in-law doesn't care about him? Her mother-in-law burst into tears, wiping them away as she said, "Oh, my husband and son were in a car accident at the same time. I asked my daughter-in-law to take care of my son while I took care of my husband, but she refused and even scolded me, saying she wanted to divorce my son. Tell me, what kind of karma is this? I only asked her to take care of her husband who was in a car accident, and she wants a divorce? She even said she would kick my son out of the city apartment." The person listening was very angry, righteously indignant, and said, "This is too much. How can there be such a daughter-in-law in this world? I'm a content creator, I'll expose her right now and make her apologize to you properly." Thus, the video was given a captivating title: Daughter-in-law wants a divorce while her son is in a car accident and wants to take over the city apartment. The cover showed the mother-in-law crying with red eyes in the hospital room, with her father-in-law, who had broken his leg, behind her. In the video, the mother-in-law pretended to be humble and pitiful, saying, "Daughter-in-law, I still apologize to you as before. As long as you are willing to be with my son in the future, supporting each other until old age, we will definitely not interfere in your affairs." Soon the video spread everywhere, and everyone condemned me, the wicked daughter-in-law, threatening to dig up my background, my parents, ruin my job, make me take care of my husband until he was discharged from the hospital, and return the city apartment to their family. Moreover, the mother-in-law's relatives also spoke out in a timely manner, saying that before, Johnny, had only taken them on a trip, but I cried and made trouble at home, forcing my in-laws to stay home, because I didn't want to spend money on them. The in-laws almost compromised, but the relatives persuaded them in various ways because they didn't want to waste the booked plane tickets and hotels. Johnny, also posted hotel proof, proving that he couldn't even enter the house after the trip, which really confirmed my guilt as a wicked daughter-in-law and aroused the sympathy of many netizens. 10. I was taking care of the child at home and didn't have much time to pay attention to the online news. It was my mother who was told by a neighbor while walking. The neighbor knew we weren't that kind of people and didn't want us to suffer injustice, so she told us to clarify it quickly. I was really shocked by the shamelessness of this family. I didn't expect that they would reverse black and white so much to win the sympathy of netizens. After lulling my daughter to sleep, I made a new video overnight to clarify what had happened before. The reason why I didn't let Johnny, and my in-laws go on the trip before was because I was about to give birth, and I couldn't have no one around at this critical moment. The reason why I said I wanted a divorce was not only because of this incident, but also because the whole family found out I gave birth while they were on vacation. I didn't give birth to the GRA ensign they had been longing for and considered me a sinner. The so-called taking over the city apartment while my husband was in a car accident was even more nonsense. That apartment was originally mine. The in-laws' relatives didn't know I was pregnant and gave birth, only because the in-laws didn't want to help me with postpartum recovery or take care of the child, fearing that relatives would talk about them behind their backs, so they never told anyone about my pregnancy. The relatives didn't even know they were traveling when I was near my due date. I took pictures of the time Johnny, and I got married, when we bought the apartment we lived in, and when I gave birth, and posted them all. I even found out that the car Johnny bought before was not financed at all, but he bought it in full. Over the years, he had been lying to me about paying off the car loan and secretly transferring the money to his in-laws. Not to mention that the day after giving the dowry, he secretly transferred the dowry away again, which was enough to arouse everyone's anger. Maybe Johnny's family didn't expect my response to come so quickly. They thought that if they threatened me in the video, I would immediately surrender. They believed in their hearts that I would not get a divorce. As long as I had a child, I would be completely tied to their family. This time they really miscalculated. Now public opinion turned against them, and everyone condemned this hypocritical and greedy family. Soon the video was deleted, and the blogger who posted the video righteously said that he had been deceived and would settle the score with that family. 11. Johnny really realized that divorce was a certainty. He knew that once we divorced, he wouldn't even have a place to live. This time, he used his old routine again, apologizing to me more sincerely and tearfully. He knelt directly in front of me, begging for reconciliation with tears and snot, saying, "I really know I was wrong. Can we not get a divorce? Please, for the sake of our daughter, for the sake of giving her a complete family, can you forgive me this time? I was just not thinking straight before, that's why I treated you like this. I swear, I will let you manage all the money in the family from now on. Whatever you say goes, I will never object. After all, they are my parents. I was caught in the middle and was in a dilemma, that's why I made such a mistake, that's why I said those things to you. I will definitely prioritize you from now on, please forgive me this time. I crossed my arms and looked at him coldly, saying, you finally remembered that you have a daughter? What is our daughter in your eyes? Is she a tool for reconciliation? You always say you are doing this for our daughter, but when I was about to give birth, you insisted on going on a trip. Did you think about her? If I had fainted at home alone, she might not have been able to come into this world. Have you thought about that? When you married me, you also swore to my parents that you would never mistreat me and would always be good to me, but what about now? We have only been married for 2 years, and you have forgotten all the things you said and the vows you made. You didn't cheat or do anything heinous, but when you took your parents on a trip, secretly transferred the dowry back to your parents, and even deliberately lied to me that the car you bought in full was financed, and then gave the money to your parents, you should have thought there would be this day. Husband and wife should trust and support each other. I ask myself, have I ever done anything wrong to you in the past 2 years, but have you done any of that? If you still have a conscience, you'd better go to the courthouse with me to get a divorce immediately, so that I won't say anything bad about you in front of our daughter in the future. I said all the things I had wanted to say to him these days in one breath, and I felt a lot better. He looked up with tears in his eyes, staring blankly at me, and finally nodded after a long time, saying hoarsely, okay, I agreed to a divorce. 12. I guess he felt a pang of conscience. The divorce went smoothly, and there was no property to divide. Johnny, even wanted to transfer the car to me, saying it was compensation for me. I directly refused, saying, I dare not take it. What if I drive it away, and your parents cry in the video again, saying that I took over your family's car? I won't be able to explain myself then. Johnny, opened his mouth, and finally said helplessly, okay then. Finally, we agreed that he would pay child support on time every month, and we got a divorce certificate. When Johnny, went back to our city apartment to pack his clothes, his in-laws heard the news and came to stop him. The mother-in-law pointed at my nose and scolded, I have never seen such a shameless woman like you who dares to slap your elders in the face in front of so many people. You caused our whole family to have a car accident, and you made us lose face in front of so many people. Now, we are pointed at by relatives as soon as we go out. I'm telling you, you must compensate us with this city apartment, or you can forget about leaving. Johnny, couldn't stop them. I was too lazy to argue with them and pretended to call the ambulance, saying seriously, he and I are already divorced, so you don't count as my elders now. If you don't leave now, I will immediately call the ambulance and say that someone is trespassing. Then you can see who will be kicked out. Finally, Johnny, dragged them away. Later, I heard that in order to prove that Johnny's divorce from me was wrong, they eagerly arranged many blind dates for him, but either their conditions were not as good as mine, or those with better conditions than me looked down on Johnny. When they realized that they could no longer find a girl who had better family conditions than us and didn't dislike their family, they shamelessly brought gifts to my door, claiming that they wanted to see their granddaughter, saying that they missed her because they hadn't held their granddaughter at this age. I was at work at the time. When I came home and heard my parents talk about it, my dad proudly said that he had scolded them to the point of being speechless, and everyone came to watch the joke. I guess they would never dare to come again. Looking at my daughter sleeping peacefully in her cradle, I felt infinite love in my heart. In the future, our family will live our own lives well.